The date is August 30th, 2016. It's the final day of preseason practices for the Minnesota Vikings. Starting quarterback Teddy Bridgewater takes a routine snap and drops back to scan the field. He plants his foot and immediately falls to the ground. Something is horribly wrong. Bridgewater has torn his ACL, along with other ligaments, as well as dislocating his knee. This is a potential career-ending injury. Now, fast forward 3 years, we know the Vikings would trade for Sam Bradford from the Eagles and finish the 2016 season with an 8-8 record. But what if history had gone differently? What if Teddy Bridgewater was never injured? First things first, what happens with Sam Bradford? Well, earlier in the 2016 offseason, there were trade rumors surrounding Bradford after the Eagles traded up for the number 2 pick in the draft to select Carson Wentz. However, in August, this close to the season, I don't think the Eagles find a team willing to give them the compensation they want for Bradford, so he stays in Philadelphia as the primary backup. Overall, the season goes fairly similarly to how it actually went in 2016, although I think the Vikings win a few more games with a former Pro Bowl quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater at the helm. The Vikings go 10-6 and beat out the Lions for a wild card spot in the playoffs. Then, in January, they lose to the Seattle Seahawks in the wild card round. The rest of the playoffs go the exact same way, with the Patriots topping the Falcons in the Super Bowl. After the season, the Eagles look to trade away Sam Bradford once again, and he is sent to the Houston Texans for a third-round pick. In real life, he was traded for a first-round pick. However, I believe he loses some value after a season where he was a backup to a rookie. So, Houston gets a low-end starter or a high-end backup at quarterback. This also means that the Eagles do not have a first-round pick in the 2017 draft, since they traded theirs to the Browns in the deal to move up to the number 2 overall pick a year ago. So, in the draft, the Lions draft Derek Barnett with the 19th overall pick, the Vikings draft Ryan Ramczyk with the 21st overall pick, and the Saints trade up to draft Jared Davis with the number 32 pick in the draft. The 2017 season also goes fairly similarly until we get to the playoffs. The Patriots still win the AFC Championship over the Steelers to reach Super Bowl 52. However, in the NFC Championship, it's another story. In real life, Nick Foles and the Eagles tore up the Vikings defense and stopped the Case Keenum-led offense to win 38-7. In this simulation, though, the Vikings have a better offensive line after drafting Ryan Ramczyk and a better quarterback with Teddy Bridgewater. So, the Vikings and Eagles have a bit of a shootout game, finished by a clutch, game-winning kick by the Vikings' Kai Forbath. The Vikings are moving on to Super Bowl 52. In the Super Bowl, I think the game could be close. However, I don't think a defense that had just gotten torched by backup quarterback Nick Foles would really have a chance against Tom Brady and the Patriots. So, the Patriots defeat the Minnesota Vikings to win their second straight Super Bowl, and Brady gets his 6th ring. This is where things get really fun. Remember, in 2018, everybody thought that Kirk Cousins was a franchise quarterback hitting the free agency market. He was the ultimate target for any quarterback-needy team. In real life, he signed with the Vikings. However, in this simulation, they just extended Teddy Bridgewater to a 5-year, $150 million contract, making him the highest-paid player in the NFL. So, Kirk Cousins signs with the New York Jets on a 3-year, fully guaranteed contract. Another change in free agency, since Case Keenum never got a chance to start in Minnesota, he stays with the Vikings as a backup, instead of heading to Denver to be the starter. Before the actual 2018 draft, the Jets traded with the Colts to select a quarterback with the 3rd overall pick. In this situation, though, the Jets don't need a quarterback since they just signed Kirk Cousins. So, the Jets stay at number 6 overall. Now, the first round looks something like this. The Browns still take Baker Mayfield with the 1st overall pick. However, after seeing how much a quality quarterback helped in Minnesota, former Vikings assistant coach and current Giants head coach Pat Shurmur manages to convince the Giants front office that they need to go into complete rebuild mode and draft Sam Darnold. So, Saquon Barkley falls to the Colts at number 3 overall, and they draft him very quickly. The Browns still take Denzel Ward with the 4th overall pick, but then the quarterback-needy Broncos take quarterback Josh Allen with the 5th overall selection. This allows the Jets to draft offensive lineman Quentin Nelson, a player who many regarded as the safest pick in the draft. The Bills then trade up with the Buccaneers to draft Josh Rosen, and the Bears draft edge rusher Bradley Chubb, who has surprisingly fallen down the draft board. The Raiders draft linebacker Roquan Smith with the 10th overall pick, and the Cardinals, not seeing any other valuable options at quarterback, select Lamar Jackson with the 15th overall pick. The rest of the draft had quite a few changes, however none are worth noting for right now. The last important piece of the 2018 offseason was the Khalil Mack trade. Since the Chicago Bears just drafted Bradley Chubb, they are not in the market for an expensive edge rusher, and Mack gets traded to the Green Bay Packers for 2 first-round picks. The Vikings show a bit of regression this season, with the defense losing some of its power in the NFC. The Vikings are still a good team led by a great quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater, who has really developed into a franchise leader. They go 11-5 and win the NFC North. The Bears, led by rookie head coach Matt Nagy, show some promise as they win a wild-card spot with a 9-7 record. The Packers are still an average team, even with the addition of Khalil Mack, and they finish with the record of 8-8. The Jets finally show some improvement with Kirk Cousins and Quentin Nelson helping the offense to take off. However, the team cannot win too many big games, and they finish 8-8. The Ravens are a surprise team for regression. However, after Joe Flacco goes down with an injury, backup quarterback Robert Griffin III shows some flashes of his incredible rookie year and leads the Ravens to a 7-9 record. The biggest surprise of the season is the Indianapolis Colts, who were led by Rookies of the Year Saquon Barkley and Darius Leonard, all the way to an 11-5 playoff berth. They are a popular pick to win the Super Bowl in December. In the NFC, the Vikings breeze by an outmatched Bears team in the wild card round and go on to face the Los Angeles Rams in the divisional round. The Rams' high-flying offense is significantly slowed down by the Vikings' tough defense, and Teddy Bridgewater leads the Vikings to another NFC Championship game, this time against the Saints. In a great NFC Championship game in the Superdome, the Saints and Vikings are very evenly matched up. However, mostly due to home field advantage and the sheer noise in the Superdome, the Saints are able to defeat the Vikings and move on to Super Bowl 53. This is a Super Bowl for the ages, with 2 guaranteed Hall of Fame quarterbacks dueling for the Lombardi. Saints versus Patriots. Tom Brady versus Drew Brees. I think that the Saints defense is able to stifle Tom Brady and the Pats, and the Saints manage to win the Super Bowl. Drew Brees is Super Bowl MVP and gets his 2nd ring. There were a few major changes in free agency in this scenario. First off, without his Super Bowl MVP win or 2018 divisional round run, Nick Foles is not viewed as a starting caliber quarterback. I believe he still does sign with Jacksonville Jaguars, however they view him as more of a bridge quarterback or a potential backup. Also, since the Bears did not trade for Khalil Mack, they were able to acquire linebacker C.J. Mosley in free agency, along with retaining cornerback Bryce Callahan and safety Adrian Amos. Another aspect of this Bears offseason, since the Bears didn't have the best defense in the NFL in 2018, Vic Fangio is not hired as Denver's head coach. Instead, the Broncos decide to hire Mike Munchak to lead the team. In the 2019 draft, almost everything changes. However, I'll just go over the most important changes in draft picks as far as this simulation goes. First off, the New York Jets draft cornerback DeAndre Baker at pick number 17 and managed to trade up for wide receiver DK Metcalf in the 2nd round. The Chicago Bears select running back Josh Jacobs at pick number 21. The Indianapolis Colts select Marquise Brown with the 27th overall pick. And the Vikings solidify the offense with lineman Chris Lindstrom, taken at pick number 31. As I said, there are many other changes in the draft class that I can see happening, but these are just the most important ones. There are 4 teams in the final season of this prediction that really start to dominate their conferences. Those teams are the Bears, Vikings, Jets, and Colts. The Bears have finally broken out on offense after another season in Matt Nagy's offensive scheme, and the defense, led by coordinator Vic Fangio, is one of the most dominant the NFL has ever seen. The Chicago Bears get a wild card slot with a 13-3 record. The Vikings are the other NFC team that starts to take over. The Vikings have an incredible offense filled with playmakers like Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, and Stephon Diggs. The biggest part of this offense, though, was veteran quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. Bridgewater has solidified himself as one of the best young quarterbacks in the league. The defense is also one of the best units in the league after a bounce-back year. The Vikings go 13-3 and win the number 1 seed in the playoffs. A surprise team this year was the New York Jets, who had a very well-rounded roster. With a strong offensive line, they allowed Kirk Cousins and Le'Veon Bell to run the offense, and defensively, Jamal Adams and DeAndre Baker helped to create the best secondary in the league. The Jets go 11-5 and win the 3rd seed in the AFC. And finally, what I would consider the most exciting team in the league, the Indianapolis Colts. Picture an offense led by Andrew Luck, Saquon Barkley, T.Y. Hilton, and Marquise Brown. Combined with an improving offensive line, this offense became almost unstoppable. And on defense, this team was loaded with Darius Leonard, Justin Houston, and Malik Hooker. Just wow. Anyways, the Colts win the 1st seed in the AFC with a 12-4 record. In the playoffs, I don't see any other teams having a chance against these 4, and the conference championships ultimately come down to these teams. The NFC Championship is Bears versus Vikings. After these 2 teams split wins in the regular season, it comes down to the wire, but ultimately, the Vikings head to Super Bowl 54 after a winning field goal kick by Kari Vedvik. In the AFC Championship, the Jets fight valiantly. However, there is no hope as they are steamrolled by the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are just too talented on both sides of the ball, and head coach Frank Reich is able to expose some of the Jets' weaknesses. And the final game of our simulation today is Super Bowl 54, Colts versus Vikings. This could go either way. Both offenses are strong, and both defenses are able to create turnovers. But I think that the Vikings defense is just a little bit better than the Colts, and ultimately, the Minnesota Vikings are victorious. Teddy Bridgewater leads his team to their first ever Super Bowl championship. The Lombardi is headed to Minneapolis.